Hey guys, I was just warming up the branding iron to finish off a couple of scrap wood projects, and I thought I'd share a couple of tips I've picked up over the last couple of years of using it. So let me bring you in a little bit closer and I'll show you the first one. Alright, tip number one is make yourself a practice piece. That probably goes without saying, but you definitely want to just get your timing down, your heat down, make sure, like if you have an electric one, then you should just make sure it's all the way up to heat. Otherwise, you're gonna need to test your heat setting and how much time you're putting a torch on it if you don't have an electric one. Just that way, you don't have any light spots and stuff like that. Also, I highly recommend making sure that you're using preferably the same boards from your project, but at least the same species. Just that way, you get a good idea. Different boards, different species react differently to the heat. So, this is the same species. That way, I know how it's gonna take the brand. Okay, tip number two is to actually mark the centers on your brand. Let me grab this guy and see if I can show you what I'm talking about. It's already up to heat, so this could get awkward. But you can see, hopefully, that I've marked right here and down the side on all four, like basically a crosshair here on both sides, top and bottom, and then on all the sides. And that just helps you align it. That way you can make a crosshair on your piece that's bigger than your brand. You might be able to just barely see this crosshair I've marked right here and then right here. And that way you can align the marks on here to the marks on here, and you should be able to center it pretty well. Also, as far as marking the brand itself, one other thing I've been meaning to do for a long time, but I never remember until that thing's already screaming hot, is to mark the top or the bottom or both. If your brand's like mine and you have pretty much no indication from the top view of which is top and which is bottom, then it can get a little bit annoying if you don't remember to look and then you end up branding it upside down. Sometimes that matters, sometimes that doesn't, but it would just be nice to know. So just some indication to tell you the orientation. If you have one of those kind of the cattle brand type where you can actually see the shape of the brand from the top, then that's probably totally unnecessary. Okay, tip number three, use a little bit of water. You just want to hit like one spray right where you're gonna brand, wipe it so that there's not any standing water, and that just helps the areas around the brand that are not directly being touched by it to stay cool. So like in this one, for example, you can see how it that heat just kind of bled, so you got yellowing beyond the brand, whereas this one, the lines are a little bit more crisp because that one did get hit with water first. I mean, this isn't so bad that it wouldn't be able to, get cleaned up with a little bit of sanding, but it's nice to have to do minimal sanding after you get your brand finished. So let's go ahead and do one and see if I actually know what I'm talking about. This thing has been plugged in the whole time and probably might have gotten a little bit hotter than when I first did these tests, so I think I'm going to do one more. That's a little dark. Yeah, that's hotter than it was when I first started. So even with the water, that one bled a little bit. Let's try one more on the back. There we go. That's about where I like it. Not too over dark like that one is. So let's go ahead and get this branded. Look for my crosshairs. There we go. Hit that with a little bit of sandpaper once everything is dried out. I've already raised the grain on this, so this doesn't really need a whole lot. And then throw it in the oil bath and it'll be done. Man, I totally lost my crosshairs. Okay, got the marks back on. Let's try this a different way. That's about all I need. Alright, so get these both cleaned up with a little bit of sanding. Tip number 4 is not to over sand, because it really sucks if you sand all the way through the brand and then it's almost impossible to match it back up. So you know, if you completely erase what you've got, then you're gonna have to either completely sand through the entire thing and try again, or I don't know, just deal with it, I guess. But at the end of the day, it's a handmade piece, you know? A little bit of inconsistency is probably inevitable. There we go. All right, well, that's pretty much it as far as branding iron tips goes. I did go ahead and give just a real light pass with 220, just since they both got touched with the water to bring them back nice and smooth. I'm gonna go ahead and put some little rubber feet on them, and then go ahead and throw the oil on, and then they'll be done. So if you want to see how they turn out, go ahead and stick around. Otherwise, appreciate you watching. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.